Mic check. Mic check. Looks like we're good. Welcome to the channel, guys. This is Reliable Rudy. For the title name, we got PAGS and NVAX. NVAX I've mentioned a couple times over the last 2 weeks. Hasn't made a title name, but today we felt we seen enough off this opening candle when it pushed over these 850s. We seen it come back in, playing this sort of like a flat top. Uh, but holding that first green candle, we took an entry around. It was hovering around 38s, and we seen it trying to. We seen a little size come in. We seen 10 lots on the bid, and we decided to try it at this 40. I believe is where the entry came in. It was at 38s. I will say that. So I tried getting the best price that I could. We were watching it, and we actually got 41. So 7 pennies in the money. Just an initial entry. So if this were to come on back in anywhere into the middle of this green candle, I think we're gonna try a couple orders. Looking for some continuation. I'm gonna show you what I'm looking for with a daily, where you see that flat top. Basically, since July 18th, we just traded sideways. Tried to hold 8 the whole time, rejected 830s pretty much the whole time, and now actually showing this open, breaking that flat top. Strength has stayed good. We got earnings coming up, whether the earnings are good or not. Not a profitable company, but NVAX is one that, we were all over it. We were in this name on this day, and we ended up getting stopped out. Shows the green candle. We actually had a small piece that we just cut into 725s. We said, hey, this could easily reject, show us some more downside. And, I didn't have my eyes on it, and we ripped all the ways up to 10, missed the opportunity, but we were looking at the right stuff. And uh, kept it on watch and just seeing it trading sideways, holding this strength. You got a clean positive break that pushes as high as positive 250, trades all the ways back in. Now, why is that 8 level so important? It's basically your neckline break from the original green candle. So actually showing a trend line hold that we have marked in right here, and now showing a break of the flat top. We said, hey, we'd be crazy. This is the nut up or shut up candle right here that we're in currently. You guys know I like to say that. And whether that means it's going to be a winning trade or not, it doesn't matter. It's just when I say that, it is me saying that, hey, if I don't take it right now, I risk the chance of this shooting straight up. And right now, as you can see, just in the moment that we've been watching it, you see this green candle just took out the high from the previous candle. I mean, I only have one fill on the name, but you see the types of setups. I would say over the last couple of weeks, some of my day trades just haven't been there. It's been hard for me to, to find an entry on something that I feel good about. So one thing that I'm going to do from this moment forward is find setups that I like. And you guys know best that I love flat top setups. So the first trade I'm taking on this week is a flat top setup. The other one that I was looking at that I just didn't feel comfortable trying it yet was this FFIE. We actually lost money off of this name over here. We had some trims up to 34. We were on the bid or on the ask at 34 half. End up getting stopped out of this one. We've been super patient with it. Identified a descending wedge. We get a gap up over this wedge pattern, which is basically what I've been waiting for. And normally, if this was me a week ago, I would have pulled the trigger right off the open more than likely when I seen it wicking into the top end of this channel. But now I want the clean setups that I can possibly get. So if this trades back in and then shows me, hey, we're going to have some sort of different trend, we can mark an uptrend, and we're not going to get back inside this wedge, I'm all for it. But that was one that I was looking at. Still holding a lot of different swings. Market's strong. We got a lot of green movers on the day. I never did mention before, I talked about the NVAX, of course. But you guys know I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Everything in this live stream, in this video, is me just showing you my opinion, my strategy. It's not 100%, but this is something that works for me, and I'm trying to give you guys some entertainment. So simply just sharing my opinion in this live stream. So let's go back to NVAX, because NVAX, a nice green candle, and from a 40 entry, I see no reason why I shouldn't just take a small piece right here. So let's go ahead. We're coming in middle of this green candle, so maybe we have a little bit more upside in this candle. But I also see a little bit of resistance and some wicks coming up to this area. Let's just start ringing the register, and my next trade for the day on the live stream is me ringing a little bit of profits for the name. So good start. We just got about 30 cents there, almost 30 cents, 38 cents to be exact. The other title name is PAGS. We started this position on the live stream the other day. We actually, like I said, over the last couple weeks, when I see setups that are strong, I wasn't scared to take them. This, we actually have like a 1080. Pulls all the ways back in, holds a level. We average in a little bit as it's holding 1050. We hold it all the ways against us, and this area right here is basically the neckline break that we wanted. When we were taking those entries, we said, hey, this could easily pull back in. When I go back into the daily chart, you're going to see this. This could easily pull back in the tested neckline. We're not going to get shaken out. We have small size, only 2 fills. Let's see if we can get some price movement to the upside. Well, now gapping up, I thought about it because this to me was almost like a flat top setup. You see it reject, reject. Now we gap up and hold it as support. This 11 hold. Uh, Not much size, but you can see the bull flag continuation where here's your neckline break that we have marked. And here's where we're trying to build this position. And one part that I liked about it is it fills this gap up here. So once we trade sideways, now that we've gapped over top of that level, if we pull back in anywhere near this very first entry that I have, I'm going to take it because I think you have some legitimate case for a push up to 12 here. With an ascending channel kind of formulating, and not a terrible company where NVAX, where that's going to be also something that I try to disclose more about the company, more about if I feel it's more of a risk, then I'm going to be less willing to hold it further down. And if I feel it's more of a justified investment where, uh, you know, if I think I can punch in, hold it against me, but over the course of a long term, this is going to be a name that is going to do well for me. I'm going to be more inclined to hold it when it's holding positive strength. So in this sideways consolidation, we tried it. Now look at where my strength is at. We're positive. This is where I believe the big players are at. Now for the buyers to come in and hold off of this neckline break and holding strength, I'm looking to hold this position until we eventually get a negative break. But of course, trim the levels to the upside. So I'm looking around that 12 to 1210 for my window of trimming. And if it were to get hard rejected from that area and fall down, we get a negative break on strength, that is going to be the exit of my position. So from this moment forward, you're going to get a reliable Rudy that is taking reasonable trades and trades that I feel have high conviction that I'm not going to lose. And that's how we're going to go leading into August. Now, I will say that I just got back from vacation, went to vacation in the Ozarks. It was for a bachelor party. It was a lot of drinking. And, I'm still in a bit of recovery phase. But I have a flight that leaves out to Florida tomorrow, or tonight. So this will be my last live stream until I get back on next week on Wednesday or Tuesday. I forget which day it is. But all in all, that's what we're going with. For right now, this is kind of what I've liked, and of course, we did get one solid trade in before we left for vacation, and kind of pulled back into our original entry. We got a 205 wick down to, but we had some good prints. We had a 25 print yet, or at the end of the week. But we actually got a golden entry where our risk reward we felt was reasonable. It was actually at the start of this green candle. As soon as I can go back to AI, but this is a setup that I'm going to start implementing into my trading strategies when I see. So this is a bull flag consolidation. It's holding the level, and I see it give up that level, and then I see it build this sort of small flat top, and maybe I have to go into a 5-minute for it. Right here. You can see it. We give up the level and then we build a flat top off of the previous lows. As soon as it claims that low, this is the trade that I'm actually going to start implementing. And you see the volume is really light. And so there wasn't any true selling pressure off of these lows, which in my eyes there should have been. This could have easily curled down, gave you a retest of 2 and a break of 2, but why is the light volume enough for this to just churn all the ways to the upside the rest of the day? And you can see the volume actually starts picking up as soon as you get back up to the top of these body candles. This is going to be a trade that I'm going to start implementing into my trading strategy, whether you see it on a 5 minute, whether you see it on a 15, whether you see it on a daily. And I can think of multiple examples, not off the top of my head, but when I uh, keep scrolling through, I believe AI was one of those examples that I was talking about. You see how you have this give up the level and then you start building. My bad. And then you start building this flat top, and where this flat top comes in is right at that 40 flat level. Now you can see this candle discredits that flat top at 40 with the nice green candle. This is where I'd want to implement that trade as soon as it takes out that flat top. So there's flat top setups that I'm taking, and there's also breakdowns that build that flat top after that, and then boom, cracks it. And that's where I want to take advantage of it. So AI, all in all, we tried it off those 39.50 levels, and that's where I'm going to try and be different. I didn't know this was going to be a flat top off 39.50, give or take. It actually is at 40, but we looked at that 39.50 level right here. And this goes much further across than what it seems like. But these are your previous lows. You break down that level, you reject, reject, reject. Now you're breaking it and holding it as support. These are the levels that I want to find. Where I took the trade over here, where I should have been taking the trade over here at a higher price. Sometimes buying at a higher price is actually going to give you a lot more comfort holding the level once it's actually showed that it can. You know what I'm saying? So from this moment forward, I'm taking high conviction trades that are in my eyes. High conviction in my eyes. Uh, man. So let's go look around and see what else is moving. NVAX, like I said, we don't have the most size on NVAX, but just ripping to the upside. So let's go ahead and just take another piece off of NVAX. We're up here in the 80s, so taking almost 50 cents on this trade that we just took no more than 30 minutes ago, and getting a nice action off this flat top. This is all I'm looking for. I'm looking for trades that are setting up like this. I don't care what they do. But as long as other people are seeing it and other people are willing to buy it, the price, in my eyes, is going to go up. If more shares are bought than sold, price is going to go up. It's going to work through that book. And that's what we're trying to look for. We're looking for areas just like this. So NVAX, not necessarily a fundamentally sound company, but in terms of the chart, uh, to me, it didn't matter because more people were willing to buy since open than the close, and that's because it was fighting this resistance. Now, once you take that out, somebody, whether they're short, uh, whether they're looking to get into the position, there was a discredit in this as soon as you got over top of it today. That was different. Now, coming back in a little bit, we did get that fill. Let's see where that fill came in on NVAX, and we got an 80. 80 half. Man, like I said, I'm still a little bit in recovery, guys. The weekend is something that, or at least last week, was something I was not very used to. You guys know I'm used to being cooped up, looking at charts all day. But let's get a feel for what else is moving around with some of the positions. We can kind of catch up on some positions that are moving. Nikola, one of the swings in. We just got CCC crossing over an alert that I put last week. Am I going to trust that? Flat top setup. We said these are the setups that we're looking to trade. Now you can see all. Let's go to a longer time frame. You can see all of this rejection from this area Is it completely over top of this area? We can also see we're getting a little bit of volume increase. So the first hour of the day hasn't or translated yet. So we're getting a little bit of volume increase, but not a lot of volume coming into this. So is this something that I'm going to say, oh yeah, buyers are going to keep coming on in? Where if it pulled back 5 cents, I'd say that's where I'd want to start the position, 387. So I'm telling myself the pullback that I'm looking for is a percent, and if it got underneath of, so give or take to 87. So let's start from 87 on down and see what type of risk I'd be willing. I'm looking at about, we'll give 75s. I'm looking at 3% of risk. Is this something that I want to take? Not a lot of volume. If we look at the daily chart, you can see, uh, really honestly, it's a pretty good setup. If you were looking for a break higher, it just hasn't got to that breakout level yet. Doesn't need to reject 4. So for right now, I'm actually going to stay away from this. But if I came back and this was ripping up through 4, I would not be surprised in the slightest. You have a trend line that's held, and you have this wedge pattern. You see this wedge, eventually there's going to be a give or take. So maybe if this pulls back in, I see it respect the uptrend, a hold of 375, maybe that's where my risk reward trade is going to be the best. So let's just go right off the body candles right here. Let's set an alert at 378. If that triggers, we're going to pull the trigger on it. Another trade that we have been talking about a lot is Disney. Disney, catching a nice bid off this support. You know, some people uh, wouldn't even think about trading this chart level right here. And I'm going to show you why. Is because look at these last few days. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your strength is negative. So the only time I'm going to be willing to pull the trigger on this is if I believe in this company long term. Disney, over the next 20 years, do I think Disney is going to go away anytime soon? No, I don't. I believe that alone will kind of give me the credibility to attempt a support level like this. You hold, you hold, you hold, you try to get down there, you hold, a little bit below a couple times here. But all in all, this 85 has been great support. So I wasn't scared to try and pull the trigger down here, knowing that, hey, if we get under 85, we could easily be coming down into the low 80s, maybe even 70. This is 79 where we wick down to a couple times. We have some good support built in right here near 78. I was already telling myself, hey, I'm going to buy this support level right here, knowing that this could fall in 8%, and I got to tell myself I'm okay with that. So uh, that is adding in sort of to the risk of buying a not so good looking chart. A not so good looking chart in my eyes, but one that I felt I was getting fair value for. Because I believe Disney is a fundamentally sound company, and I think that if you're looking at the financials from like 2014 to 2018, just the margins that they were able to put up, if they're even able to get remotely close to that area again, I see this as a no-brainer play. Where maybe this fall down, we got as high as 118. Maybe this fall down is just how do I want to explain this? 'Cause I don't want to talk for other people. I would say it's possible that people weren't giving Disney enough credit for what they are actually good at. And they just need to see it. They need to see it in an earnings report to believe it. So the sell-off, you know, I can understand that it's reasonable and that it has downside risk, but I felt these mid-80s were good. So we'll move on. Oil, very strong. We can talk about oil. Oil getting closer to this sort of flat top resistance where we said this is going to be the first area that we're even thinking about selling it. When you play these support levels like this is kind of the same story as My bad, guys. I'm having a hard time talking right now. But I would say when you play a support level like this, let's compare this to Disney. If this is the support level I just got done playing on Disney, there's got to be an area once it gives you a move that you're gonna have to respect some outs. And these 82 halves is gonna be where I start. Small trims, but we have more size on oil than we have on Disney. So it's going to be interesting if we're even able to get over 82 half. I think it would be reasonable to see oil trading up and make an attempt toward these 90s. Whether it needs to work out some kinks, sell off a little bit before it makes that move. This is a pretty strong chart in that overbought area, 202 strength. So even if it had to pull back in, if it as close as it gets to this middle ground right here, this is what you guys hear me say it all the time. I think the big players are here around this 0 in strength. That is what we're looking to do. So trim the levels to the upside. I look at 82 half as a level to the upside. If we reject that area, I'm looking at the top end of this downtrend. You see this sort of downtrend, whether it's legit or not, we do respect it and bull flag and break through it. If we pull back into these 75s, that is where I'm looking to pull the trigger on more oil. Looking back at NVAX, let's stay focused on the one trade a little bit, at least keep coming back. I think this next level that we're going to go off of, you can see we're over top of these highs that we respect at 80s. I don't see why it can't push up to these lows. You see wick, breakdown. I don't see why 9 to 920 can't be something that is respected. So we're going to go start with 910. That's pretty much the wick low right there, a little bit below it. But 910 to 920 is going to be an area that we're looking for. Man, a firm's going to let me know. I feel over the last few weeks, I don't know what it was, but something just got me off my groove a little bit where we were making good swing trades because we were already in them. We already had the entries, so we felt a lot better holding them. It was the new positions that we just weren't getting good reads on, and this is where we're going to stop that in its tracks today. Leading into the beginning of August, we're taking nothing but high conviction. And this, to me, is the setup I will take every single time as high conviction. Not because it's working right now, but just because of how patient we were. We watched it reject this level. I don't know how many times. I don't know how many times we've pulled over NVAX and seen it doing this. Holding strong though, I think I have 910 and 920 marked, but I think if we get up to those let's just pull up NVAX and let's just go on the ask for another trim off of 896. So if 896 fills, we're going to take another small trim, and that would be over 50 pennies in the money. Plug. I see plug is having a look. This is how I had my chart, not a perfectly looking chart. So let's just clear everything. And we talked about the gap, which is at 1150. Yep, boom, filled it. We had no chance to buy it. Right off the open. And realistically, we told ourselves that, down closer to 11 flat, that's what we're interested in. Not a half bad look on plug. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Give you the consolidation. Is this going to be an area that built a flat top off of 13, has to reject it a little bit, and then break out later? Kind of giving that look. So we're not going to do anything with plug. We're not going to add more. We're not going to sell any. We're just going to hold. See, we don't have anybody watching at the moment, which is alright. We're gonna keep this FIE on watch. NVAX got as high as 894. Um, what else was I gonna look for? PAGS, the other name, giving you that kind of bull flag look. Uh, it's over top of that breakout level, but this is gonna be one that I think we just hold and not do anything with. Slightly in the money. Okay. NVAX got as high as 94. Let's see if we can go ahead and find something else. So CC didn't give really too much follow through. We just got to learn on canopy growth. A lot of red volume off the open. Didn't really have a flat top setup, but I seen it was looking strong into the open. You can see strength isn't quite there. So was this one of those moments that it gaps up, has to fill the gap, and then catch some continuation? I see we have a gap up here. Does it need to work out some levels? You could say that this was maybe a flat top. You gap up, you try to fill the gap, and you hold above that flat top area around 43s. And then you hold green, you gap up. Is it going to be the same continuation? Strength just isn't quite there yet. So if I was looking at this for high conviction, looking at these first three 15-minute candles, is there going to be buyers off this gap right here around 47.5? Does it fill that and catch a bid? It's tough to say. So in terms of what I call this high conviction right now, I'm going to say no. So I think we're going to stay away from it for now. I am gonna go refill my coffee. I'll be right back and let the dogs out. So give me like 5-10 minutes, whether you guys are here or not. 5-10 minutes, I'll be back. And we're back. I seen we had an alert go on PWM, which is interesting. It's kind of been just one of those that's playing around with this trend line. Is this going to have the juice to show you a break of that level? Which I'd say, call it 16. It probably has some sort of downtrend like this, give or take. Uh, So is this high conviction trade if I took it right here off of this alert? I would say probably not at this moment. But it's very possible that this trend line is more so like this. So if it can stay in this wedge and then give you that 1580 break, and it's a clean, nice green candle where you're getting increasing volume, maybe there's something there. But as of right now, I would say nothing is there for that yet. But now that I'm back, let's take a look back at NVAX because we're on the ask at 96, and 96 is a high a day. So let's go see if we got a fill on that name. Let's see if it gave us a fill, and we got the fill. We got the top wick fill on NVAX from our original 840 break right here. Just playing a flat top. Um, yeah, like we said, leading into August, we're looking at taking high conviction trades that I can identify a level. Now, where I felt I was getting myself in trouble, I'm just going to go mark a downtrend right here. Whether the downtrend's perfect or not, it makes sense in my eyes. Where I can see it start building this level. This is where I would be taking the trade that hold it in against me, try to respect the support level, and then try it again. Where now we're letting it show us the level and waiting for the true breakout area where we felt that happened right here. So we watched NVAX for a long time. And this is a great example of the trades I'm trying to take. High conviction trades that are going to give me moves off of a level where I think more people are going to be willing to buy than sell. It's not so much about more people, it's about more shares. If more shares are getting bought than sold, it's going to rinse through that book and eventually wash out everything that's on the tape. So that's what we're looking for. We just got 96s filled, and we didn't have the most size. If I go to a 5 minute and we look at where this broke out at, we had a good, and this is where we're actually at 38s. We tried getting 38s, and by that time when we noticed that some size came on the book at 36, by the time we tried punching it at 38, we got 42s. It came against us a little bit. We had a small time frame to add more at a lower price, but as soon as it broke over top of this 850, it never looked back. So yes, this is a beautiful, good trade to start the week, and we're looking to take as many trades like this as possible. Now, leading more into some swing trades, Disney's got to be the topic for today, because I was buying against my high conviction, just playing the support level. Uh, I don't know how many fills came in this range. This is Fed day. Couple fills on Fed day. Got a fill off the gap. Got a fill off the break of 86. My bad. Still working through a cough that I just can't get rid of. But the gap up, two green candles off of increased volume right here. We think we got beautiful entries, early entries for Disney. Where if we get this positive break, we're not even thinking about selling until we get that positive break, and then maybe if it gives up negative, we can think about some cuts. But we think that this is trading for a premium for this $100. Now, whether it can run higher than that or not, this level is going to get respected. And the true level that we're looking for is some of these gaps up here. If we can get an extended move up towards this 120, that is the move that we're looking for. So if we're looking down here at 85s, to me, I think it's potential that we're trading 40% at a premium. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't break down the support. It is a weak name and trade down where we look at 78 as the support level that we could easily fall down to. Kind of a flat bottom break. Definitely a downtrend in here somewhere. It's not going to be all flowers with this one in my eyes, but a good start since we've been talking about Disney every single day. But going forward, if there's anything you guys in the chat want to talk about, My goal leading forward is to be a little bit more selective. FFIE is one that we're being selective with. Old Rudy from a week ago would have pulled the trigger on this right away. Right away. Not me. Not the new Rudy. New Rudy's being patient and finding the. If this were to break out, I wouldn't even think twice. I'd be like, good for them. Anybody who got that, good for you. But I'm going to be patient with these, especially gap up levels like this. Because for all I know, this descending wedge that I have drawn right here, for all I know, there's something different that I'm not seeing. But for the most part, a gap up over top of a wedge is a good first sign. Now, if it pulls back into this wedge and then breaks back over it and maybe gets over 30, maybe a 30 break is going to happen 3 or 4 days from now. And that's where I want to be for it. So I don't want to try it right here, lose, and then not try it when it's actually breaking out. We've had multiple of those over the last couple weeks. And, maybe from those March to May, right when it got that level, it started ripping. This is me telling myself, hey, I gotta adjust, because something over the last couple of weeks where I'm starting new positions in different stocks, something's happened where I'm not finding the ability to get the entry, trim the levels, hold a piece for the dream. So my adjustment level is, hey, just be more patient. So that's what we're doing. Ooh boy. But let's look back at some of the other plays. PAGS is working pretty good for us. Petrobras looks like catching a nice bit. FVRR, this was a name, and Lucid. Lucid not looking half bad either. Lucid's been a title name for a while and actually respecting this ascending channel that we have very nicely. Nice consolidation above this sort of neckline break. We said from the get-go, had I got stopped out on Lucid down here at 680, I would have been livid. Because this is one that we felt was trading very well, where it gives up that bull flag level, sets up the flat top, and now we're getting the nut up or shut up candle on Friday, where now we're getting a gap up testing top end of the channel. We're looking for eights. Whether it gets there today, whether it gets there this week, next week, doesn't matter. We're looking for eights. We want to see 730, 725s hold as support. And if we're lucky enough to get eights, after that, we're going to be saying, hey, above 850 could easily run for this $10 gap. So even from current price, 7% to the 8 gap, and we're still saying, hey, this could potentially be trading at a 30% premium for that $10 gap. We're okay holding it right now. And this is one of those positions that I had plenty of time to build the size that I wanted off of 7 flat. So let's go ahead and look at a 15-minute chart here. You can see gaps up, doesn't retrace down to the gap, holds this level. Are we going to reject close to 8? Have to come back in? Maybe. Maybe, but all in all, I feel very comfortable holding this position. Ooh. What else we have? We have DocuSign, that's looking good. Plug, we talked about Plug already. Nikola, strong move on the day. We've respected 75s before. And I'm looking at this as a flat top. So, maybe we go on the ask at 75s. It's getting to a point where we don't have the most amount of size on it. We have, what was that? Original. We have about 35% of the position. Man, I just can't get rid of this cough. I just can't do it. But this is that type of high conviction that I'm talking about. When you can identify levels like this gives up a level built a flat top at this 150. Yes, it'd be nice to have a one flat entry on this, which would be great, playing that $1 level. But taking that 150 break for the next leg up and holding through this, there are some red days on Nikola, but it never gave up 2, so there's never really any panic or threat to that 150 entry. So now, testing up towards this flat top, is it respectable up near these 270s? Maybe we just go on the bid, or maybe we stop some shares out and just take a piece. I'm not sure. But a good look on Nikola. Let's keep scrolling through. Geo. We talked about Geo around that 7 level. And now it actually printed a high a day over top of this neckline. Not a half bad look on Geo. Let's go look at the daily. Actually, nut up or shut up candle. This could have been nut up or shut up candle when it was fully green, but once it closes down below 750, here's your consolidation. Now this is your true bull flag continuation candle. If you are looking at this from a long perspective and saying, I want to own some shares of this, right now is the time where you risk this running into some sort of retracement from the top end to the bottom end, where we've rejected that first retracement at 750. Now 780 is the next level. After that, 8. So if you, why I call it the nut or shut up candle is because if you don't pull the trigger on it right here, you risk it running, maybe even up to the 702, which is a whole dollar. So a good look on Geo, and one that we built a pretty decent swing on, and we feel very okay holding this. Whether it has a trend line that is reasonable or not, we were looking at it something like this, where that could potentially have some sort of channel like that. So if we're even saying top end of the channel, building an entry for the breakout, we're looking at 80% top end channel. So that's what we're trying to do. Looking around some more, let's look at the bank names. You guys know I was on the banks pretty well. We respect 32 halves. We see no reason why we shouldn't respect that gap. The next level we're really looking for is for this trade sideways long enough and give us a move up to that $34 gaps down right there. But still kind of possibly rejecting some sort of downtrend right here. So is this going to be something that turns into a sort of a wedge pattern? Maybe. But if this were to pull back into anything that we trimmed leading on up, if it pulled underneath 30 at all, I think that's a no-brainer. One that was in question today, and one that, actually went against what I was saying with it. We said at 13 flat and 1290 gap, we were looking at it. Where's the 1290 gap? Right there. Boom. There's your gap up. There's your gap fill. Any trims that we had on this name running up to the top end of this channel, we said we're reloading off this gap. Well, we didn't get that reload today because we wanted to be a little bit more patient. This was 2 red candles to the downside. If we're able to get it closer to this neckline break, which is this green candle, nut up or shut up candle right here, continuation. This is what I'm talking about. When you get these nut up or shut up candles, it's like you risk running this all the ways up to 15, which was a gap. There was a gap here, and there was also a gap right here that got very close to. See that 1550? That was the risk. Well, now we're coming back in. Is this an area where you can reload? Well, you also have a negative break on strength. So maybe if we give it some time to consolidate and reclaim positive strength, that is where the trade is going to be at. So we're holding our hands on forward. We're interested in it for sure, but we're being patient. That is one of my newest strategies that I'm going to go is just to show patience. I'm very confident in my ability to identify the right ticker. It's about identifying when the best time to enter the position, whether you miss it or not. For us, we have, an 1150 entry, and we trimmed it just a couple weeks ago up at 15. So it's like there's no need to rush back into it. If this runs back up, we still have a position, and there's nothing to really worry about. If we're lucky, we can get it even lower, closer into 12. So that is the talk with Ford. IBM continues to give some movement to the upside where I can see a gap right here at 145. I think this is going to be where an exit of the position comes into play. In all honesty, it's been a strong name. Could easily go higher. But leading up for this dividend, I think this dividend is going to be one where we're playing a trend line on this, playing positive strength. We got our positive strength move. We're getting closer up into some of these resistance points. Does it have the strength to run all the ways up to 160s? Maybe. So maybe we hold a little piece for that. But all in all, a nice move there. FFE continuing the trade sideways. Still holding above the downtrend. MNK put a nut up or shut up candle right there. Looking at the daily, candle number 3. Nikola up back into the 70s. You know, let's just go take a piece on Nikola. Even though it's strong, it looks like it's going to keep ripping. We're just going to have a small trim of the position that we have left. Respect this level up here. And taking over $1 in the money per share is never a bad thing. AI still continuing to set up this flat top. Where is NVAX? NVAX gave us that move up through 9. Given a breakout type of candle. Getting closer to that 910 and 920. So let's go on the ask at 910. NVAX. We're going to respect 910. That puts us, we're still a little over 50% of this position. I see a name on here that's on the top, near top 10. RXRX. Nice ascending channel build potentially going there. Let's take a look at PWM. Let's look back over there. And see that wedge pattern holding. MKFG. Still holding the level decently. I'd say you probably have some sort of channel right here. Give or take something like that. Microsoft continuing to catch some resistance. Nice sideways consolidation. Let's go take a look back at that. This honestly looks like a pretty decent setup. Nice sideways hold over top of the wedge. NVAX 909. We're on the ask at 910 here. Let's see if we're gonna get the fill or not. Come on, baby, give us the fill. 1 minute left on this candle. Let's go ahead and see what this tape is looking like. Is there a lot on 10s here with me? There really isn't much. Let's just switch this to a market order. There we go, right in the register. That should have been a 908 fill. Maybe it gave us 908 half, but there was orders off of 908. Gives me a good feel that, hey, we could get some continuation here. We still have over 50% of the position. Let's look over at Lucid 4C coming on back in. Like we said, just light volume. We're looking for high conviction. We need a little bit of volume to give some confidence there. Disney continuing to be that nice green candle over 88 was almost, you could consider these previous lows right there off 88 flat. Not up or shut up candle if you wanted to be a buyer in these 80s. I can't promise you that it's going to stay here in these 80s very long, and especially when it puts a nice candle like that on an 88 support hold. Because you can see shorts getting in off these previous lows. Well, now price is over top of that. I'd say Disney looks like a pretty legitimate long play. FFIE continuing to show a little bit of strength here. Are we going to catch a bid higher? We do have an open of the next candle. Let's take a look at NVAX. Tapped 910s. FVRR testing these 30s. Let's look at the daily. Came all the ways back in, filled this gap on the money. We talked about 27.5. There it was. 27.5 was a nut up or shut up. Pushes all the ways to 32, comes right back to it. Boom. Now testing 30. Looks like DocuSign's gonna need a little bit more time, but flirting with this middle ground here, so we're okay with it. XLE 2% on the day, bull flag continuation, testing up to these highs. Probably a good level for some early trims. We haven't trimmed a single share of XLE since we started. NVAX right back in the 9. Let's go to the top volume. SoFi, not surprised. Taking out highs on each of these. Has this been enough consolidation on Mooin? We normally look at Mooin at least once or twice on a day. Here's your open candle, indecision, holds the level, takes out the highs. Lucid, the more it kind of trades like this, the more I almost just want to take a little piece off. Kind of rejecting still up to this wick. could need to pull back in the 20s or 30s again. Yeah, why not? Let's just go take a piece off of Lucid. We've been 100% on the day so far, so I mean, I think this for our first trim since the reload up at 40s. No, we trimmed 40s and we were able to reload back in near 7s again, back to the original size we have. Let's just go take, what would this be? 3%. Looking at a 3% trim right here. And let's just go ahead and do so. So ringing the register on 3% of the position. Still want to hold a lot more size for this move up to this $8 gap. That is possible. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but possible. These Chinese ADRs have been strong. Looks like Baba printed another day's high. We talked about this channel, breaking over top of that channel, and I'd say your breakout level is around the 104 to 105. The wick high is at 105.20, give or take, and we got a 117 gap here. So maybe this is an area where it's trim worthy, but we're looking to hold this for maybe a bigger move. Strong name. I don't see why it can't catch continuation with this U build that it has right here. Very good look. Let's go take a look back at CGC. Still right around this 48 cent level, but did fill the gap and is holding the level decent. You can see comes right back into the gap, and now this buyer is coming in off this gap and the previous high. Not a half bad look. But is it high conviction? It looks like we've ran up decently in some price. Let's see if it can show us a level to build off of. So probably not going to be a trade today. FFIE, let's look back at it. And we're still set here on high volume. Let's see what else we can find. Disney testing up the 89s. Airlines have been weak, and since I looked at them, I didn't even realize that we're building this flat top off of these previous lows right here. I thought a lot of the airline earnings were really good, but still looks like it might have a little bit of work to fight through. End phase giving you this slow churn up, trying to retrace back up to the earnings gap. This is the trend line I'm going to want to see hold, and I think we're going to respect it if we come back into it. NVAX giving up 9s, just barely tapped those 910s, so we got a good fill on that. This would have to pull back into the uptrend before we're thinking about reloads. About 60% of the position left from an 840 entry, and I don't see why, if it didn't keep running to the upside, why we wouldn't go on the ask at 920. Those are your true previous lows here. The 910 was kind of just respecting the body of this green candle right there, and that was kind of the flat bottom break that it gave, where we had to consolidate down, and then we got the downtrend break, and we built this flat top over the last 2 weeks here at this 840, and that's where we took the trade, right at 840. PAGS still giving you this sideways consolidation, but above the highs here, even if this pulled back in, I think around 11 to 1080, we're going to think about adding some more size to it. So we actually have no trims on PAGS, even though it's taken out the day's high. We feel pretty good about it. Sun W. Holding the level. DocuSign holding the level for now. Pretty consistent channel, a couple breaks to the upside, but right into the uptrend that has been holding pretty well. You can see this. Actually a pretty interesting look right here. Still in this oversold area with earnings coming up, but I would say risk reward wise, if you were playing this like a trend line, your downside is going to be 13. But if you're looking for an entry on something, that uptrend right here could give you a break of this downtrend. Not something I'm going to play yet. If it shows me a move through that and then trade sideways long enough out of this downtrend, and then we see it continue to respect the uptrend, that is where I'm looking. But then, of course, I risk the possibility that this breaks out. I'd say a 20, a reclaim at 20, you could easily see this name. You gap down on a flat bottom break. You retest and fill that gap. You retest a little bit higher. You build this sort of frowny face, and we come back down and test the trend line at 1850. And 1850 is held beautifully. So risk reward down to 1850 is legitimate. FFIE still kind of a little indecision here. Is it going to have the strength to trade back in and hold 28s? I'd say risk reward. If you were looking for a trade, I'd look at this. I'd classify this as more of day trade worthy. 28, underneath 28, you got your levels that you could hold into, but I'm not going to be looking at that. We can look over at Nikola. Is it going to be able to take out day's high? It'd be a 275 break, which is a flat top. So I'd say we had a good take here at 73s, and let's hold and see if we can get some movement higher. Lucid, this is kind of why we wanted to get that fill right there. And the reason being is because we have the top end of the channel up here that we could be rejecting. I think it's possible that we could see this break down and come retest 725. So it was good to get a fill right there. FFIE, red candle right back into the level. Kind of red engulfing on a little increased red volume, so I think I'm just going to stay away from this name for right now. But I'm still saying that this is a decent setup that could easily get some buyers in off 28. Now we're already leaving a wick right here, so I'd say all in all, not a half bad look here. Saying that we just broke this descending wedge. Let's look at some of the big losers for today. APLS. This name was actually up big in the pre-market. I think it was up at like 38. I didn't even realize that this, kind of shit the bed. We can see that channel was legit dating back to October 2018. It just cracked it in July. And it's been nothing but downside where we met up in the 50s for that trend line. Now we're already, a haircut of 50%. Pretty noticeable move to the downside. And how I play these, that breakdown support, is the best way to go is just wait for your strength. Your strength has been going up. It's been up from negative 800 all the ways up to negative 74. If you're just waiting on strength, you've saved yourself a price from 63 all the ways down to 25. So, maybe this is one that we can take a look at and see, what was that earnings report like? So I'm going to pull this over and just let's look at this together. Revenue of 89 million. So let's go take a look at that. They were expected 70 million, so a 19 million dollar beat on earnings there. Oh my goodness! Even the quarter before, they only reported 44 million, then 22 million, 22 million. They go from 16 million up to 90 million in sales. Huh? That is actually quite interesting right there. That's very interesting. Let's look through some more of this. I think still have 616 million of cash. Expected to last them up to Q1 of 2025, so that kind of gives you a little bit of time for them to figure something out. Obviously, there's something that, has cracked this. $67 million of it came from this trial drug, Syvory, for the treatment. $22 million in this Empavia, which 22 million alone covers more than the 16 million they put last year's quarter. Increase in cash. And that's a pretty damn good margin. Cost of goods sold only 8 million to 95 of revenue. What is that, a 90 something percent gross margin? They still have 110 million of receivables to collect as well, where last year they only had 7 million of receivables. Inventory is a reasonable increase. Their development liabilities is 290 million, which is covered over 2 to 1 to their cash. Okay, so spending a lot on their development still, or their net loss, or their development, so their reinvestment back in is actually significant. But they're saying they have runway, and then you have a decent amount of share dilution, about 13% year over year dilution. So still not the worst type of earnings report. Yeah, that definitely piques my interest a little bit. Whereas, you have a back test of the neckline that test it. You get a left leg, you get the right leg, you retest the neckline, and then you run for another high. Let's see what this full extension is. This hit the full extension. You guys see that? Boom, you just sell it near a full extension. Buy back in off the original neckline down here at 20. We might try this at 20. XPEV actually showing some resistance. Gives the gap down 13%. K-view, bottom end of this descending channel, whether it's set perfectly or not. Medfast, we were expecting some sort of rejection from this downtrend. We said, this thing was ripped good enough. If this were to come back into some levels, though, maybe something there further on. PRFX, a little bit of a nothing burger. I am kind of keeping my eye on target. Just fighting through these previous lows still. So we're looking for some actual continuation to the downside. We can continue playing. You can see the stair step action. So with it showing rejection here, if we do get a leg down near that 100 flat, I think 100 flat is reasonable for target. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for 100 flat on target. Well, those are some of the red names that I can see. They've had a little bit of downside today. Market's kind of flat. Nothing really too crazy. Nikola gave up 70s. FFIV still holding these 28s. Now on the next candle, looking like this 28 is sort of that risk reward area, I would say. But no price movement to the upside or downside. NVAX still trading down a little bit, gave up the body candles, which was at 92s, give or take. There's a nice little flat top right there. There's your high conviction. So the gap up, you could have been waiting for the gap to come back in and fill. Doesn't give it to you. FVRR still at that 30 level. Z was still catching a little bit of bid. We still have a little chunk of this position, but you can see uh, nice flat top that it built. It broke it, retested it around this 550, and gave the move up. Our best print on the name is, I want to say 650. I can't actually remember if it filled or not. It looks like 49 was the high, so maybe we didn't get 50s on Friday. We were on the bid or the ask for it, so maybe if we get back there again, that is a level that we can trim. PAGS just holding sideways. You can see risk reward, if you're looking at a new entry, you can probably give this 20, so you're looking at 5 cents of risk for a potential move back up to the highs. I would say Warner Bros. Is one that we have kept our eye on, but you can see how we have our wedge. We've never really gotten down to this 12 level where I said, hey, we're going to get 12s. We're on the bid at 12s a couple times. And you can see this wedge pattern that's playing out. So, I mean, if this were to get over 1350, that's going to be the nut up or shut up. Honestly, we could possibly get there today. Is it going to reject this downtrend? Reject, 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 reject. If it gets over 1350, I'm going to be put in a position where this is something I've been waiting for some time. So let's go ahead and just throw in a word off 1340s. We want to watch it around that level. PayPal, now every share that we've bought over in this area, now in the money. Had people laughing at me saying, you don't know what you're doing. And I said, you really gonna knock me for buying PayPal in this support level right here? And yes, I am gonna hold it down into here. And if it goes lower into those 60 or in those 50s, we're a buyer. Well, we didn't get too much opportunity to buy it in those 50s, but we do have a print down there. I think PayPal long term, I think that's a reasonable long to look at. Whether you think it's a little bit overpriced up here, okay, that's fine. You can wait for a pullback into the 60s again, maybe. If it comes in, I think it's a reasonable long to punch in. Disney taking 89s. So this is going to be the strong name for me today for new positions. I was talking earlier how we were struggling finding new positions. I think my best positions are going against strength on fundamentally sound companies, and that's what we think we have here with Disney. Geo continuing to catch a bid on this nut up or shut up candle. You see it's breaking over top of these wick highs, still holding 50s. IIPR showing a channel break. Is it going to have the strength to get back up to the top end of this ascending channel? You can see what we have working here. So we'll clear that. Let's look back at NVAX. NVAX giving up the ghost just a little bit. Has some good trims on it. We're looking at holding this. Whether it pulls all the ways back into our original entry or not, we're holding the 60% we have left. FER continuing to catch a bid, sort of a nut up or shut up candle coming in. If you are okay with this strength, pushing over top of this 30s, it's rejected this 32s a couple times. We think that we can get it higher. We are going to respect 32s to 33s if it comes back in. Uh, we actually think we can get this name up close to the 40s. In the 40s, actually. I'd say your flat top is up there in the middle 40s, 44 give or take. And let's go take a look back at Lucid. Lucid still holding this level. We trimmed 63s. We just said up here in this candle that, we got the top end of the channel up here. Let's take a piece of it. We have good size. If this wants to pull back in, gives us a little bit of comfort reloading the position. Where I think over 7 is great. Around 725 is a good add area in my opinion. Just scrolling through. Baba getting close to that 102, so really holding those highs right there. Discover. Discover is a name that we are looking at punching long. The closer you can get to this trend line, the trend line has been nothing but excellence. In the 90s, if it gets underneath 100, I think it doesn't matter where you're looking at it on the chart. I think it's a reasonable long-term buy underneath 100. That's my personal opinion. So if you see it at 99 and you're like, yep, throwing the boat at it, we're going all in. I think you would do good, but you're going to have the resilience to say, hey, if this was at 96 and you just got in with the boat at 99, you're going to have to understand more about the company and why you want to be buying it. And to me is that the amount of return to their shareholders through dividends and share buybacks, which they put a pause on the buybacks on their earnings, so maybe that's what some of the exits of this is. Uh, but those buybacks will start coming back in. I'm not worried about that as a long, but this is definitely one that we're going to keep our eye on. But other than that, I think we're going to take this NVAX trade, and this is going to be the highlight of the day. And we're going to try and find as many trades like this every time that we live stream. And I see FFIE still holding 28. I'm still not going to let this one slip away where, uh, maybe we're getting to the point where we can set an alert on 29s. And if we reclaim 29s, this thing could get going. It's just been nothing but sideways action all day. So, I mean, if you were looking for a support level, I've mentioned many times on this stream that, hey, that 28 flat is an area that looks like good support right here. Disney still holding over 89s. Let's go look at the markets. NASDAQ setting up this flat top. If this breaks this flat top, I would expect the market to be as bullish as we've seen it all year. Because now you're getting up in these areas where I think shorts are trying to get in. And if you're able to break this flat top and the right short exits his position, you could see some true movement back up to the highs here. Nicola giving up the ghost just a little bit, so a good fill there. Continuing to respect those levels up there, up at 75s. That's where the resistance is at. Now if it gets back up there again, I think we keep doing it. If we're able to break over 75s, 3 is that next level. You can see if I just mark 3 flat right here. There's your 3 flat. That's what we rejected over here. Get over 3. You're going to see this continue to be bullish. And looking at it from a chart perspective, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 back test, pretty much the top of wave 1. If you get a wave 5 come in, I don't see why it couldn't test this flat bottom break up here at 465. Boom, flat tops gives a wick up towards 4, breaks down. Now we got a nice wave pattern brewing there. FFIE still over this wedge pattern. Hold of strength. Nice 25 hold, right down the 25. But you can see this candle really giving you that setup for a break of 28.70. We're going to be patient with it, but you know, me a couple weeks ago, I would already be in this, just holding it with a stop in at like 27. But we're going to be patient and just wait for that entry. Looking at JD, JD looks to me like a really safe play up for top end of the channel if you were looking for something to just trade, looking for some strength. TRP, 2.5% on the day. Nice trend line hold. Whether this trend line's legit enough or not, in a way, kind of sloppy channel we have drawn there. Actually respecting it though. Let's look at the outperformers. Since Go EV outperforming 20 million in volume. No volume here. No volume. CGC, a little bit of outperformed. That gap would have been, you know, great shares. 3.5% off the gap. I'd say pretty much building this flat top right off these previous lows. I like when it connects with the previous low here. But do I like the company? Giving you the stair step action. Boom, 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 boom. Another leg down might be ready to go. PDFX. We're just looking at this one. Not much volume, but over the last couple candles, a little bit of an increase there. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. FVR, continuation. Disney, continuation. Warner Bros, continuation. Ziwa, slow churn. Veil, nice. Ascending little channel right here. AI pulling right back in to the level. Middle of the green candle. Doc's a pretty good look. Just go from the body of that candle, run it through all of that. Nice trend line hold. Giving you some sort of flat top here around 37s. You know, strong on the day. Jets ETF. You know, I think a worthy one to look over at is probably Ford. Ford catching a bid, that 13 flat in the 1290 gap. Nice little buy there. I think Foot Locker is also one that is giving you this confirmed hold. You know, if it breaks underneath 25s, I'd say you have some sort of trend line down near those 20s. Obviously, probably not a perfect uptrend, but every time it's been underneath of this, it's been a pretty great buy. We're matching up this sort of uptrend right here, you know, respectable channel. On the name MRO, still just been a nice churn since we broke this. It's gapped up on the day. Hasn't retraced back down to the gap, but I mean, this looks good for continuation in my book. That's what we have. I mean, that's all we're really looking at today. FFIE still holding 28s. Yeah, other than that, guys, I mean, I really don't have much else for you. Pretty slow in the chat. You know, maybe some people are losing some confidence in me. That's fine. We're gonna have the days where we feel we're gonna get the last laugh. So we're not the most worried about it. Intel, we never had any trims on the name after the earnings report. Decent support level on this NASDAQ short. Got the gap at 1672 that still hasn't filled. Cows approaching an all-time high break. You know, of everything that I've traded, I think I've gotten more crap for holding a cows ETF than anything. But, you know, right up near those all-time highs. I'll take that all day long. No chance I'm cutting any of it either. Long hold. Lucid giving up 60s right into 50s. You know, I think 730 to 725 is a reasonable pullback area. FFIE testing up 229s here. You can see the candle. I mean, just looks fantastic. Doesn't need the wick back in. Let's see a candle close here and then we can think about it. Because all this gives me the feel is that, you know, the longs are holding it above 28 over and over again. NVAX set a wick low since the breakout down to 873. Now above every print that we've had, or below every print that we had. Actually, we might have had 70s on that first one. I forget. FIE giving you a nice look. Doesn't need to pull back into 28s though. Disney still holding 89. APLD, it looks like it's breaking over a flat top at 975. But if you look, we're still rejecting that 10. Still a little ways off this uptrend as well. So I am going to. So I think I'm just going to sit tight on that one. I think this FFIE is the one that I'm watching that is striking my attention. Volume picking up on this candle that's sort of starting to break out. Let's go start looking at the tape on this one. Ziwa still showing some continuation. Looking like a not half bad chart setup with the increased volume here. A little bit wicky, but glad to continue just holding that. I think we'll continue just holding that name. Okay, we have the open of the next candle. Now, we see the green candle close above this wick high. If it pulls back in to 2850s, I think this is a reasonable setup. Which 2850, if we move this right down to 2850, there it is, pretty much the halfway point of this candle. We've got as high as 29s and we got as low as 28s. So 2850 right in the middle of those pennies. And I think you can give it 28. 28 has been solid support for the name all day. I think 2850 is reasonable. We're going to give this candle a little bit of time. FVRR should continue showing that continuation. Really strong move on the day here. CGC kind of trading in, given that stair step action. Disney also catching a bid for some continuation. We see no reason why we should even think about trimming Disney. Let's just hold that one for triple digits is what we're looking for. Triple digits. Geo, nice hold of these high. This high break, 756. Still trading above that. These dogs are killing me to go outside though, so I will be back in 5 minutes. And we are back. So let's go take a look at that FFIE. And I do have some company that just showed up, so I'm probably going to end the live stream after this. And given that breakout, so this is kind of what we were waiting for this whole day. So any types of pullbacks in back into these 28s, I think is a reasonable setup. And even this candle pulls back and retests that wick high just briefly. So I don't see any reason why this couldn't be one that continues that breakout. I said I was waiting for more conviction. Maybe the conviction was this wedge pattern gapping up and putting a couple wicks into it at 27.5, reasonable, and showing some continuation to the upside now. So yeah, nothing to complain about here. Had we tried it after this green candle closed, we can see that is what we're really waiting for. We didn't want to see this turn into that frowny face. Let's say you took the top of that green candle. 1.7% in the money for it right now. That is where I felt the high conviction trade was, and now giving the breakout on increased volume. 7 minutes left, still increased volume. So, yeah, I'll leave that for what it's worth. If this pulls back into the middle of this green move in any way, shape, or form, then I am going to be a buyer for FFIE. That is going to call it for the live stream, though. Let's see if we had any action in the chat. Doesn't look like we did. I will be going on vacation. I leave for Florida. I'll be there for a week. So next time you see me on live stream will be next week on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure what time I exactly get back. But there you guys have it. Appreciate anybody who tuned in for the stream today, and we're gonna call it at that. So see you guys next week.